Welcome back. Happy Wednesday and summer. If you're in summertime, most of us are, I think. Even in Europe, I think you guys are in summer right now. And wow, we're just moving right along in this Gospel of Thomas. It's going to be over in a minute. We're on 74 today. I'm happy to be in this book. I just love, I think this is my seventh year doing book studies. I just love being in the regular, the regimen of reading the great truths and being up on it. And I like, I did the gospel thing. As a Christian, I'm so happy that was wrong and it's way better than the Christian message. But it's cool to have the something like the Gospel of Thomas and the sayings that there's the Gospel of Mary, the Gospel of Peter. There's all kinds of other Gospels. This is the most popular one. But that Nag Hammadi library is, it's almost 3 inches thick of content of stuff that came from the Gnostics that was outlawed and made to be heresy back in the day. But let's get started with 74. Who would like to open with this one today? It looks like it's a disciple saying something that says, he said. Hi, Barbara. Welcome. Good to see you. Thanks for being here.
There. Okay,
There it
gotcha.
is. On and off. There it
Well,
is.
thank you, Bill, for doing all this. It's. I've been with you for years, and I'm so grateful, so grateful.
Thank
Thank you.
you. Thank you for making a place for me to come. If people didn't come, I guess I could press record but yeah, it needs people. It needs to be people.
Yeah,
Yeah.
wonderful.
Yeah.
So I'll kick it off for sure. Here we go. He said, "O Lord, there are many around the drinking trough, but there is nothing in the cistern,
Yep.
whatever."
Sister. Hmm.
Yeah. So, and Cameron says, we intuitively know that peace, happiness, and an end to suffering are possible, but we look for them in objects. However, that is not where they are to be found. This worldly vessel, like the cistern, is empty. Once this fact has been completely absorbed, and we realize that the world will never quench our thirst for these things, we turn elsewhere in our investigation. The first thing, when the opening, when they remind me of politicians, but
Good one.
sorry about that. But anyways, okay. So I'll let somebody else talk about what they got from this one.
Well, I marvel at how much Cameron got from
Yes.
these pretty, sometimes scant messages, and how deep he was able to draw the truth from the symbols or from the few words that were spoken. And the thing that I got in that one sentence was the trough represented anticipation in the disciple that said, "Oh Lord, there are many around the drinking trough, but there's nothing in the cistern." So I sort of got, it sounded like there was anticipation for you know for the someone that was looking for water or for to be you know to be fed, cistern is a water a water uh, uh, like a thing that pulls water off the roof and holds it so that it can be reused, like repurposed. And lots of houses, if you go down in the islands, down in the Bahamas and south of Florida, those island, if you have a house there, you definitely have a cistern because often that's the water you need uh,
Mm.
to drink.
But
But
too, I think he also like he makes it like I do agree with you there, and it says the world is like the vessel, worldly vessel. So it's to me searching for not so much things as filling your heart, finding happiness. They're looking for happiness in things. So it's like going to like, and I used to do that. When I used to go 100 years ago, and you'd go to church, and then after the service, uh, you stand in the hallway and socialize, which I never did, but watching and observing, there was no judgment. It was just, I thought, I felt so empty there. I
mm,
wasn't getting, I knew it was empty. It wasn't what was meant for me to hear. It doesn't mean that it's not good to be heard and taken in by others. It just means that I myself, it was empty. And I think if we go out, it's like going to church every Sunday and then your week's clean for the rest of the week, that kind of thing. It's
yeah.
your cistern would be empty because you're not filling it with the true happiness, right? You're using the place of God, place of the universe, whatever you want to call it, more as a image for yourself rather than the intake of its words, its meat, right? That's how I
And being
see.
satisfied with the empty cistern. Being
Yes,
what looks empty is still satisfied. The self doesn't require uh to be to anything other than itself.
that's a good point. Maybe that's why I felt always empty because I always knew like I was satisfied moving out into the world and just being me in it, not Barb, but being life in it and knowing it's life itself, and was always comfortable with that. That was always full for me. It's always been enough. It's I don't need any more. There's nothing to add to it, nothing to take away from it.
Yeah,
But when I went into other places, it just always seemed empty. It just seemed, I can't explain it to anybody. It
right.
wasn't them. It wasn't what they were doing. It just
Yeah,
was empty for me. Yeah.
right. Well, thank you for that, Barbara. And Jude, you had your hand up. Do you still have something you just to say?
Yes, good morning, Bill. Thank you.
Hi.
I want to thank you too for bringing us together. And I love this little book. But
Thank
it's
you.
great to open my heart and mind and listen to other people's interpretations of it. This
Yeah,
it really, I think of the cistern as being the well of peace and happiness, and that we seek outside of ourselves, that is the ego's creed, to seek outside of myself to find happiness, peace, and joy, and that it cannot be found outside of me. Seek not outside myself, that the sanity and the truth, um, and the constant, consistent state of who I am, the changeless state of who I am, is within. It's always, and he speaks of this. We turn elsewhere for our investigation. After we sought for happiness in objects, in the body, mind, and world, they're temporary, and we think that we're getting happiness from them, but they continually change. So it's an inconsistent and changing happiness and peace. It's a coming and going, and it's contingent. my happiness was based on a contingency plan. If I got this or if I lost that. So it wasn't stable or constant. And it would always be constantly changing. So I would be in a constant state of change in my happiness and my peace, or discontent or unhappiness. So the course really taught me that what I must ultimately learn is there is nothing outside of myself, outside of the one mind that is the truth of who I am, that I am consciousness itself, that I am the one Son of God. There's lots of words in order to describe it according to the various religions, but the course really taught me that everything, that I don't need anything outside of myself. I'm already whole and complete. And that is why I can be at peace. I can be content. I can be happy. And I need not seek outside of myself, because the
Right.
cause of suffering itself is a state of discontent or not being at peace. So to know myself in truth is to end the suffering of the separated self that thinks it needs to seek outside of itself for its happiness, its peace, and its completion.
Hmm.
There
Yeah.
are, everybody's all around looking outside of themselves when there's nothing outside in the world that will give them that peace. So, ergo, there I go. Thank you.
Right. Yeah, it's the human condition. Thankfully, it's all set up so that we first learn that we're this. We're first, and we establish, the the different parts of the ego identity, and then we recognize, oh, there's so much more. And understanding comes into a place that at first is resistant to the ideas, and then when the ideas come in, they sort of they 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 find a, a a place of remembering, if there's an if there's a genuine yearning, if there's a genuine interest in knowing, it reveals that we're much more than these body minds.
Yes, it's funny. I had an experience when I was 30 and I had a beach house and a ski chalet and I had 6 pairs of skis, a Jeep, a sports car, and a truck, sailboats and paddle boards and canoes. And I was standing in my driveway looking at my beach house and saying, I always used to say, I want it all and I want it now. And I looked at my house and all this stuff and I said, there's got to be more to it than this. And it was one of those God moments of insight that made me turn my investigation inward. So I like to remember that. Thank you.
Right. Good one. Yeah, I don't know. There's a YouTube video flying around that I happened upon, sent to Lisa a couple days ago. 3 days ago, it had 5.5 million views, and it had only been posted for 5 days. This MIT neurosurgeon, uh, kind of what you just described, only he was trying to find happiness in helping people not suffer. With, he had an idea that he was going to put chips in brains, and then that didn't work out, and he goes to being a spine surgeon, and he realized that he could never make he could never fix people. He could never stop the suffering. And now in 7 days, this video, he's now unemployed. He quit being a neurosurgeon. Because it was sort of like your wake up call. And now he's in the wilderness. His wife said, "Yeah, go ahead and quit your job." He's a young neurosurgeon that's just couldn't find happiness with all, I mean, he's really smart, and it just doesn't, it's not found there. It's not found in the wealth. It's not found in the great job and the great skill. And so, yeah. Well, thank you for that, Jude. And we're going to move on so that we don't keep just about talking heads. And we'll move into the 75 saying. Who would like to read that, please? Hi, Jude. Go ahead.
Let's not waste a minute. Jesus said, "Many are standing at the door, but it is the solitary who will enter the bridal chamber." In the end, as human beings, we are alone. No one else can live our lives for us. We are each perfectly formed reflections of God, fully equipped for our own unique and intimate journey home. We depart when we're ready and travel at our own pace. All I'm going to say about that is I know my home is in the mind of God. That's my heaven. I'm complete.
Yeah. Yeah, this is good. The note I put for this one is that we're not waiting for others. We won't, it won't work for us if we're waiting for others to find happiness or to find awakening. And this is a key verse in the course, that the sole responsibility of a miracle worker is to accept the atonement or accept awakening for yourself. No one can do it for you. This is an inside job, 100%. And that last line that Cameron used, we depart when we're ready and travel at our own pace. So this is an interesting statement too, because we don't really go anywhere. The bodysuit doesn't depart. It's the mind that believed itself to be a separate thing and losing the awareness of love's presence, losing or purposefully disconnecting from itself as itself. It becomes this human experience. I don't feel that was ever an accident. But we seemingly depart, or we seemingly reveal our true nature to ourselves when we're ready. Everyone does it when they're ready, and I don't really know what that means on the scale of millions of years, but that's not for mine to determine. That's not for any of us to really determine. Ours is this is a sole responsibility experience for each of us. And I learned this from a friend of mine that first directed me to Course in Miracles meeting, probably the first one I went to, even before I met Ken Wapnick. And he said Ken told him, even this guy was 80 when I met him 16, 18 years ago. And he said that Ken told him to just be gentle with everyone because everyone's doing the best they can where they where they think they are. Just be gentle on everyone. And there's no exceptions to that. Everyone. And yeah. So, Jude, what would you add to that or read the next one?
Well, I'm just that word ready because, in my seeking to have an intimate relationship with God, there were what the Course in Miracles called conditions. And one of them was peace, to be at peace, to have a quiet and tranquil mind, to have trust and confidence in God. And that's all I needed to do, was to relax and know that he was in charge of this, that I didn't know the way to him, but he was already here with me. And it's like you said, it does, I don't make it happen. He came to me in my relationship with him. But for me to be ready, I have to stop disturbing my peace. I had to stop judging and attacking and condemning others. I have to, like you said, have the gentle vision of Christ in the awareness of my mind as I looked upon everything, and behold everything as myself. There's a certain part of meeting God that requires my cooperation for being like God, and the way in the likeness of the way God thinks and loves and accepts. And I have to I have to that's what the undoing part of the process is in the course for me, was for me, um, that we're already perfectly formed for that. We're Because God is already with us, but we have to give up the world and the image and the false and fixed beliefs about who we think we are, and about trying to control reality when reality is one. Everything is one, and our letting go of our false fixed beliefs and judgment. Um, so that's enough out of me. Sorry if I talk too much. I get excited.
Uh, yeah, well, when you mentioned something about being ready, it felt like you were talking about coming to the place of surrender, which I feel like is a portal to awakening. That readiness is it's almost like you acknowledge, or and when I say you, consciousness acknowledges its own readiness, and in the form of however it shows up. It sounded like you were surrendering to and to yeah, I don't know what tells us that we just love peace. I don't know what tells us that, oh, this feels, this peace feels amazing. I don't know what tells us that. It's a felt known experience that draws us to itself. That's what but also what you added to all of that when you continued talking is the deliciousness of the truth. When understanding reveals itself, it becomes, oh, it's like when you hear a great sage, or you read a great quote, it resonates with your soul. So yeah, thank you, Jude.
The term bride too. I just recalled something that I read in Esther Eckhart's writings, that he describes that as the willingness to join God or be available to God, in God's total availability to me, that I have to reciprocate that total willingness to be available to God's will, the way God's will is, with everything that He created. And entering that bridal chamber is a total surrender, or dying to the personal self. So
Yeah,
thank you for
thank
reminding
you.
me of that.
Okay, and when we're talking about God and Him, we're really talking about presence. We're really talking about the allness of all. It's not that guy with the beard that we all grew up with. So just in context to that, I just want to, just for people that aren't here on a regular basis, we're not talking about the Christian God that's out there somewhere. When we hear someone speak these terms, it's the infinite presence of our own being. And who would like to read 76, please? Okay. Well, iPad, is that Sylvia?
Yeah, that's me.
Will you read it?
Yeah, I'll read it.
Okay.
I'll read it. Okay.
Thank you.
Jesus said, "The kingdom of the Father is like a merchant who had a consignment of merchandise and who discovered a pearl. That merchant was shrewd. He sold the merchandise and bought the pearl all alone for himself. You too seek his unfailing and enduring treasure, where no moth comes near to devour and no worm destroys." Um, there is one essential difference between the treasure we seek and everything else we have ever known. This treasure lasts forever and contains within it everything else that ever existed. Once it is found, all else is redundant. This is why the merchant sold the merchandise and bought the pearl alone for himself. Once he had found the pearl, he needed nothing more. What um was the merchant thinking in terms of the pearl as something valuable? Was that what it? I,
Yeah,
I can read it, but sometimes I have a hard time
it,
understanding.
it's the most valuable. It's the
Mm,
thing. It's like the thing that was inside. It's what we all. It's relating to our own pearl of the within
mhm,
of our true nature. That's the pearl. It's the
mhm,
thing that is of has the highest value, and it's sort of hidden amongst all the other uh, shiny, uh, sparkly things.
mhm.
And
Okay.
so for him, I mean, he's talking about this treasure that we all have. That's that's right here within this
Mhm.
awareness of our being, this pure presence, and this treasure.
Last
It's a
forever.
it's symbolic of this treasure that can never be lost.
Mhm.
When he said, you too seek his unfailing and enduring treasure, where no moth comes near to devour, no worm destroys." So it's uh, uh, that infinite being that we all
Mhm.
embody.
Mhm. Mhm.
Yeah.
Okay. Thank you.
Thank you. Cameron says uh, in that first sentence, there is one essential difference between the treasure we seek. This would be the merchant who bought he bought all this merchandise and everything else we have ever known. So he's really just distinguishing between the objects of experience and our true nature.
Mm.
The kingdom is discovered within the merchandise, and our experiences in the world are temporary.
Yeah.
And thank you, Sylvia, for reading
Mm.
that. And Jude has her hand up. Jude, would you have something to add?
Yes, this really speaks of eternity to me. The intimate relationship of myself, capital self, with my Father, which is the kingdom of God. That's the unity in the state of grace, that knowing the be still and know that I am is given. I'm given everything in that knowledge. And the fact that he talks about the moths and the worms is how the ego seeks a treasure in things that are temporary in space and time, that never last. They always end up being destroyed. And that what that relationship, that pearl of a relationship is, to me, is finding that I need nothing more, because in my intimacy with God, I have everything because He is the creator of everything. So everything else is, just frosting on the cake. Thank you.
Yeah. 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 Once it's discovered, you realize that's why you came. I mean, Ramana Maharshi says that that's the highest reason that humanity comes to the planet Earth is to wake up, to know the self, to be realized. Thank you, Jude, and everyone who would like to read 77. Moving right along. Barbara.
I might pop out. If I do, you're carrying on.
Okay, I'll carry on.
Okay. Yeah, if I do that, okay.
Okay, you
So
got
I
it.
love this one. Okay, it says Jesus said. Now we're going to stop that one right there. I'm not going to say that. Just put that aside. And we're going to start just after that. It is I. I love that. It is I. It's not Jesus saying Jesus is I. He's saying I.
Start
Okay.
there.
Start there. It is I, being, who am the light, which is above them all. It is I who am the all. From me did the all come forth, and unto me did the all extend. Split a piece of wood, and I am there. Lift up the stone, and you will find me there. The encapsulation of the entire teaching of non-separation and unity, it entire universe and everything in it. In other words, we are all one. We are not separate. Rather, we are all expressions of the one consciousness, also called God. I love that because it's like the eye of the needle. The camel cannot get through because your body mind can't get through that. It's through the eye, which is the portal. In there, resting in that being of life itself, right? So I love that because when I see that eye really present itself, I realize Jesus isn't saying, he's pointing to.
Yes, yes. Beautiful. Yeah, beautiful. I love how you sort of drew a line to say to establish the the I, the true I that is speaking and the true me that is speaking. What I did on that first paragraph was I put quotes over the I's and the me's. Yeah, same thing. I was just drawn to put a quote over every place it has an I. Put a quote, an unquote. We are all I and we are all me, and drop the we. There's only
Yeah.
I's and me's.
Yeah. It's
Barbara,
beautiful.
Barbara, thank you for mentioning the eye of the needle. I had never understood it, and I just got it. So thank you.
Yes, yes. I thought the same thing. I loved how you just dropped that gem right in there, Barbara. Awesome. Thank you. Anyone else? All right. Let's move to 78. We're moving right along. We have, nearly 30 minutes left, 25 minutes, and we might make it to 84 or more.
Oh,
Jude.
I want to speak about the light. It is I who am the light. And this speaks to me because he says, which is above them all. So this illuminates to me. I think of light as being understanding, the understanding of the consciousness, which projects all, the nunam that projects the phenomenon. So this speaks to me of the mind, the light, the understanding that is the creator, which is the highest above all, but extends into creation, the manifestation of form. So this speaks of transcendence, the transcendental awareness of Christ consciousness that sees everything and illuminates everything in form, but is above it. So it speaks to me of transcendence and eminence. It's imminent in everything it sees, but it's also transcendent. Thank you. I'm complete.
Yep. Yep. That was great. Yeah. And I would agree with that. I feel that the light is understanding coming in as and if you put too many words on it, it sort of dilutes it. But the light and understanding can often be considered the same. The light of understanding, when the course says that I am the light, or when Jesus said 2000 years ago, you are the light, now walk in it. He was talking about that transcendence and the understanding of the truth of our true nature.
It really speaks to me of the way the Course differentiates between perception and knowledge, because you
Yep.
cannot, perception sees with the body's eyes, and
Yep.
that's phenomenon. And then the knowing understands through the light that everything is one, which is invisible. It's beyond the body's eyes
Yep.
and the body's mind. Thank you.
Yeah. Thank you, Jude. Yeah, perfect. Thanks for adding to that. Now we'll move to 78. Who would like to read? Jude?
All righty then. Jesus said, "Why have you come out into the desert? To see a reed shaken by the wind, and to see a man clothed in fine garments, like your kings and your great men? Upon them are the fine garments, and they are unable to discern the truth. The reed shaken by the wind expresses the very miracle of existence, of there being something rather than nothing. And when we hear the truth, something resonates within us and says, yes, that's true. We may not have the words to articulate it, but when we hear it, we recognize it. When this clarity is present, we are not deluded by the symbols of power of the world, by the men clothed in fine garments."
Nice. Very nice. Yeah, what I underlined in that first statement, that first paragraph, why have you come out into the desert? To see a reed shaken by the wind. And I like that description, because that's like what happens when you go into nature, or like you just, when you're just still, just in total presence awareness, not needing anything to be perfectly happy, just being present with whatever's happening. And this can be in nature with watching. I love to watch the trees like blow, just watch them sort of way up in the wind, or watch birds sort of float through the air. And you can have that same presence when you're listening to your partner, your children, playing with your cats or dogs. This is establishing being being present, practicing and living presence of our being. And it's a distinction. This is giving a distinction from the, thinking how you look or feel. You want to put your clothes on. Just culture says, smell good, have good hygiene, but he's really talking about the inner experience of being present, being your true self, your true nature. And in this description, he's talking about being present in my mind. Thank you for reading that, Jude. And let's just move to 79 now. Who would like to read that? Let somebody else read that maybe you don't read all the time or once. Come on out of the closet. Put your hand up. Okay, Carol. Thank you. Hi, how you doing? Oh, you got a cat condo right there.
Yes, I do. I have 3 cats
Okay.
fighting over it. Hi. Okay. A woman from the crowd said to him, "Blessed are the womb which bore you and the breasts which nourished you." He said to her, "Blessed are those who have heard the word of the Father and have truly kept it. For there will be days when you will say, 'Blessed are the womb which has not conceived, and the breasts which have not given milk.'" The only certainty in the world is change. This is why Jesus counsels against seeking blessings in the world. It is not possible to insulate oneself from age, accident, infirmity, wars, upheavals of all types. We can never know what will happen tomorrow. The only true blessing is to find that which does not change, that loving peace which is eternal, our true home. Therefore, Jesus says, "Blessed are those who have heard the word of the Father and truly kept it." So it seems like well, the the word of God, the word of love, is the only nourishment that there is, the only lasting nourishment, the truth of the words of God. For there will be days when you will say, "Blessed are the womb which has not conceived, and the breasts which have not given milk." For me, that feels like that's a blessing too. Because those are the days when we question we're recognizing that something is off, that we're not home, that we're not still and at peace. And it's the light, or I call it the dark, that shines its light on the truth. It's the carrot, it's the. So whether we have heard the word and have kept it, which just happens, or whether the happening of feeling or thinking, things aren't okay. I don't feel my peace. When a part says, hey, I guess I need to remember, or a part of me that is there, something that knows. So either way, it's known. Even if for a while it seems not to be known, that's sort of the time thing, but it is already known. It just seems to be a game of sometimes not knowing. Not sure if I've put that in any kind of sensical terms, but
Yeah, I think that, this is what Cameron's talking about, where he says we can never know what will happen tomorrow. The only true blessing is to find that which does not change, that loving peace, which is eternal. And in that, that's our respite. That's the thing that we use these tools of pausing for a moment and don't touch it. We use tools that bring us back to an anchor of remembering, that bring us back to that sense of being. And it's that a quiet mind, it remembers peace. And in silence, we we remember God. In quiet, we we enter into the presence. So it's those anchors that bring us back to that. And what I was getting from the distinction here was a little bit like when I first met Rupert or Francis. I recognize that they don't take compliments very well. It seems like you give them a compliment and it's like poker face, and you go, what happened? You know, and Jesus was kind of doing that. He was deflecting, yeah, I'm blessed. It came from blessed is the womb that bore you and the breast that nourished you. So, lifting him up a little bit, lifting his mother up a little bit. And what Jesus was coming back at, was he didn't pay any attention to that accolade. He was really saying, "Blessed are all things. Blessed are the everyone, and blessed is the womb that didn't have a child or nourish anyone. Blessed is that one too." And so that's what I got from this was there's an ego identity that has been set aside because blessed is all things, blessed is all are all beings, and that was my big takeaway here. I really loved that the description that what we each take away our own little thing from these passages, and that's why I think they're so helpful to read them, because they are doing things right now that we don't even know the results of as we read them. Yeah.
Yes, and it actually brought me back to page 76, um, where Cameron is saying, we're perfectly formed reflections of God, and we're fully equipped for our own unique and intimate journey home. And we depart when we're ready and travel at our own pace. And being we is consciousness. It's not the seeming personality, but it is the informed, so to speak. And it just, however it happens, is how it happens. Is there a plan? It just seems to be all potential playing out. There doesn't need to be a plan for one thing. Why would there be a plan for one thing?
Right.
That the plan is infinite playing out. So there's no act, yeah. And it just seems to be sort of the same thing, saying, hey, anything goes, it all goes, it's all I, so to speak.
Yeah. Thank you. Okay, who would like to read 80? We'll move to 80. I'll read 80. Jesus said, "He who has recognized the world has found the body, but he who has found the body is superior to the world." It's kind of a little bit like a koan or a riddle, a teaching within uh, a riddle. Cameron says, to recognize the world is to know that manifestation, is to know that manifestation. The physical universe, here called the body, has no independent existence, no life of its own. It and all life within it are animated for a time by life itself. The one who understands this knows his or her true identity to be that which gives rise to that very animating life form, life force. Yeah, I mean it. Cameron really expanded on it quite a bit, but it's what all of us discover when we recognize we're not this bodysuit. When we recognize something is always aware of the movie that I seem to be in, that the bodysuit, the body mind seems to be in. He who has recognized the world has found the body. So there's that thinking that I'm this, but he who has found the body, he who becomes aware of the body mind, zooming out just a little bit, and is able to, at first, it's just the observer, but then there's a recognition that even the observer is seen, and that is superior. It's a higher elevation of consciousness is what I'm taking on that. Carol?
Hi again. So, Bill, would you say that? So, when I read this and I see um, animating life force as the sense of presence or the being, um, the emptiness that is that knows, that perceives everything.
It's uh, I I see that as awareness, or the formless presence that you can't use a word to say what it is. That knows its true identity in that which gives rise to that very animating life force. So as soon as you lay a description on it, that's not it. So it's that which knows and is.
Yeah, I think words and terms too get all confused, but there's a knowing, there's something that is part of the experience of and is aware of the body mind experience. And there's a sense of I am, or there is something rather than nothing. But there's also beyond that that is seems to be um, the the first recognition of itself, if I can say that. Yet that also, that beyond that, mm,
Uh, I wouldn't um, I wouldn't limit it to say the first recognition of itself. I would take the first out. I would say that there's a recognition of of beingness. There's a recognition of animation, which has no words to say what it is.
yeah, yeah, yeah. And yet there isn't full awareness through this experience of what it is. It doesn't truly know itself in fullness because it isn't able to even understand itself other than in this experience.
Well, we have one hand up and something in the chat. We'll just we and our time is up. So why don't we just end there, Carol and Barbara? What did you have to say on that?
Just quickly, life itself, as it says here, to recognize the world is to know that manifestation. It's a manifestation of consciousness. All is in consciousness. That's all it means. The physical universe, here called the body, has no independent existence. None of us have independent existence. We are life itself, consciousness itself. Consciousness is life. It is life. And we, not me, but the being of me, is the awareness. It says we are awareness itself. That's the light of consciousness. And as far as you were saying about Francis and that, I've always agreed with that, because if you say compliment one, who are you complimenting? That's the question. Who are you complimenting? I think Wayne Dyer said it very beautifully. When you are above the good opinions of others, you have truly made it home. And I think that's true, because it's not you that's speaking. It's life speaking. And we're just the movie itself. There's really, and I get that, because when Francis and Rupert are speaking, it's not Francis and Rupert. It's the message.
Yeah.
And there is no person. When I'm listening, it's no person. I'm listening. What lands. And however it lands, I don't know. But then, and it's not like, oh, I get it. It's nothing like that. It's a light of understanding. It's a deeper understanding.
Yeah.
And like the lady said, the eye of the needle hit her. That's the light going on. That's not her getting anything. The light is, she's receiving understanding. The light, it has nothing to do with who said what.
Exactly. Yeah. Good one. Thank you all for your involvement, including the reading and all this good stuff. Thank you for being here, and we'll pick up on 81 next week. And Holger said awareness is always full but veiled. Yes. Thank you all for being here, and I'll see you then.